Hey, welcome to my reading life. I'm going to share with you a little bit about my journey into reading. Early on, I was never a very good reader at all. In fact, I was in the bluer group, which meant that I didn't read as fast or as maybe deep as most other students in my class, and it meant I read a little slower, and it was really hard for me to understand what I was reading. As an adult, this is probably the first time I really started to enjoy reading for fun. It wasn't something that someone told me to read. It wasn't something that would make me like a better person and I was going to improve my life. It was something I chose for fun over the usual 30 things that I would rather do before reading. As an adult, I started reading John Grisham books. John Grisham is an adult writer, and he now started to write for young adults. He writes the books Theodore Boone, The Kid Lawyer, super cool series. And he's the first guy who really kind of hooked me into the world of reading, where I was turning pages and no longer just counting the pages, guys. I was reading to kind of feel the story and to help solve the crime. He writes about lawyers in adult life and in Theodore Boone's story. So to me, he was one of the first readers who really got me caught up in the action. I almost literally kind of felt the story unfold above me as like a movie was playing in my head. I continued to try fantasy books. People recommended me Harry Potter. I was one of the first people to read Twilight. I had some friends recommend it to me. I could not believe that it was no longer just me counting pages trying to get done with this book, but it was really like this whole nother experience of like the world lifted and the words became maybe like I was kind of part of this story. This is a picture of me at Universal Studios when I finally got a chance to go see what Hogwarts and Diagon Alley looked like as it looked in real person. I didn't get to the second part of the Harry Potter world, but I sure enjoyed the first part. This is two different types of butterbeer that I had to try. As an adult, I still love to read to kind of escape. Like Ellen Hildebrandt is one of my favorite authors. She writes about a beach and like this like very basic sea life where they live in Nantucket and talk about summer days and kind of minor problems. Nothing super serious, but it's such an enjoyable relaxation for me. I have had some really cool experiences as a reader in my Twitter connection. I use Twitter for a lot of personal reasons and a lot of professional reasons too. And I finished this book, The Wife. I loved this book. Olive Fair Burke wrote this book, and I actually put it out on Twitter how fast I had read it. I literally, you guys, read this in one day. Kind of surprised me too because I could not put it down. I tweeted about it and talked about what a great story it was, and the author tweeted me back, and we had a kind of a conversation about it. It was a really cool experience. She's a New York Times bestseller. These are the books I read this summer. I probably read over 10 books, to be honest with you. I think an audiobook equals a reading book. So I listened to The Boys in the Boat. I listened to Everything I Never Told You. I read Six of Crows and I read Dear Martin, but I pretty much love to read anywhere. You put me in a car, I can read. I love reading outside. I love reading kind of in my bed in the morning or at night. I love just kind of hanging out in my own little space. I actually need it pretty quiet to read. I have found some really good people to talk about books, and I think that's something I found is my best help to find my go-to readers who we can talk about books and who like books or maybe challenge me to try a new type of book. Mrs. Roosh, Mrs. Miles, Mrs. Weifel, my friend Mrs. Quaddy, and even my daughter Kaylee has given me some really good books that I have found. I go back to them and ask them for help. That is my life as a reader. I honestly didn't think ever that I would love to read as much as I do, let alone teach students how to read and how to hopefully love reading like me. I can't wait to hear about your reading life.